From the My Life Experience series. An excerpt from the book Death and I, The Pandemic. Author, Ilona Davydova. Read by actress Lana Walling. Warning: this material is not for everyone. Just like morphine or radiation, which is dangerous for a healthy person, but medicine for a cancer patient, this material is intended solely for people who are struggling with a terminal illness, are suffering from panic attacks, cannot remain calm during this pandemic, are losing sleep due to the fear of death, are preparing to say their final farewells to a loved one who's about to leave this world. This book is not for everyone. In fact, this isn't really a book at all. It is a new form of psychotherapy for people who find themselves on the threshold between life and death and are experiencing extreme stress and paralyzing fear that interfere with their ability to live on while struggling with life-threatening illness. Fear, by its very nature, puts people in a position of defeat. Statistics show that cancer alone takes the lives of about 17 million people every year. Furthermore, roughly 3 times as many people are suffering from cancer. They may be alive now, but they cannot be sure if they will live to see tomorrow. The pandemic has put everyone on Earth in the same position. These days, not even young and healthy people can be sure if they will be alive a week or a month from now. Taking a relaxed attitude to all of this and living on in a relaxed way as if nothing even happened is not something everyone can do. Far from it. The audiobook, Death and I, is an unusual new form of psychotherapy, one intended for people who cannot stand how close death might be, people suffering from anxiety, panic attacks, and the simple, commonplace fear of death. This book is not a call to accept death or to fall in love with death. It is a new form of therapy, an audio program designed to neutralize fear, obsessive anxiety, and panic attacks. Like any innovation, this program may provoke mistrust or rejection from certain quarters. When the inventor of the first mobile phone went out into the streets of Manhattan to test out his innovative device, I'd bet my bottom dollar people wanted to drag him off to an asylum. Here's this guy holding a brick up to his ear and talking to it like he's having a conversation with someone. A stunned crowd gathered around that weirdo with the brick. They called an ambulance. What if he hurt someone with that thing? The brick, of course, was the first mobile phone in the hand of its inventor. For the program to be effective, it will be necessary to 1. Listen using headphones and without any distractions, though going for a walk is fine. 2. Listen to each version at least 10 to 12 times. And 3. Listen to all 4 versions 10 to 12 times each. 1 is read by the author with musical accompaniment. 2 is read by an actress with musical accompaniment. 3 read by the author without musical accompaniment. And 4 read by an actress without musical accompaniment. Reading the text is not required, though many find it indispensable. This will lead to complete liberation from the fear and anxieties associated with the potentially imminent danger of death. The beginning of a life free of the fear of death can be compared to a dark, stormy sky opening up to make room for clear light, bright sun, and white clouds. With great love for all sensitive souls, Ilona Davydova. P.S. All proceeds from the sale of this book, as well as all donations to the Death and I YouTube channel, will be used to support Memorial Sloan Cancer Center in New York, Russia's primary hospitals, research centers working to develop new cancer drugs, research centers working to develop new medicines to treat COVID-19, and 20 needy terminally ill individuals each year. Death and I. Part 1. I will rest. Doubts were raised. Wouldn't publishing this book be dangerous? Many of my colleagues and relatives interpreted it as an incitement to suicide. In fact, it's just the opposite, although it would probably be impossible to explain that to every one of them. At the end of the day, everyone perceives things differently. They'll just ban your channel for 3 months, my colleague said. Just like a child comes into the world naturally, without asking if it can be born and what kind of child it can be, this book was born from my soul. It was an involuntary defense mechanism when death was no longer with me one-on-one, but had mustered a vast horde and was attacking me from every direction at once, in a ring. When that ring grows tighter every day until it's touching the edges of your clothes and you're backed into a corner and can't do anything to defend yourself. Even if you are a strong person, someone who never gives up, like me, you have to sit there and wait for a week, 2, a month. Who will it choose? My son? I struggled so hard to bring him up. My mother? Just when they've almost beaten back her cancer. Me? My relatives? My friends? And what if it chooses several of them at once? Who will it be? After all, it's not as if I and the rest of humanity were on vacation when the pandemic came after us. Even before it struck, we were weary from our struggles. Even without the pandemic, everyone knew someone who was sick. We were already up to our necks in problems. With that juggernaut crashing into us on top of everything else, wild panic has set in. Trump is warning that the suicide rate will increase. Alcoholism will triple. There will be 10 times as much drug addiction, at least. Crime will go up. When a person is backed into a corner, they have nothing to lose. In these terrible circumstances, deciding to stop fearing death, to steel your nerves and look it boldly in the eye, might be dangerous and frightening to many. But it is the most civilized medicine available. In order to stop fearing death, one has to accept it. That does not necessarily mean that you have to rush to meet it. Just stop being afraid. Free yourself of that uncontrollable fear. During World War II, just one poem, "Wait for Me and I'll Come Back," eased the pain of millions of people in the Soviet Union. The song, "You Wait for Me by the Crib, Unsleeping, so I know that nothing will happen to me," kept the entire country's spirits up. I am a descendant of that people that kept its spirits up through song. I am sharing my experience here to relieve pain, ease anxiety, and quiet fear for everyone who, like me, cannot sleep at night. Right now, that might well include half the planet. The most terrifying part is when they raise the axe above your neck. Afterwards, when the axe has done its work, you don't care. But to tremble like an autumn leaf for a minute, 2, a day, a month, years, standing on the threshold between life and death. One step to your left is life, one step to your right is death. And with every fiber of your being, you refuse to accept death. In the hospital, when we were fighting for my mother, I saw an uncountable host of cancer patients. All of those people were on the threshold between life and death, some for months, others for years. It's so very hard on that threshold. It seems like we've saved Mom. Now what? Again? I can't stand it anymore, always feeling this fear. When people are afraid of the dark, the treatment is to take them into a dark room and show them there are no ghosts and goblins in there so they can finally relax. The fear of death can be overcome by coming to see death as something that's not so bad. Quite the opposite. I will be very sorry if someone does interpret my work as an incitement to suicide. But these are turbulent times, and the medicines we need are dangerous. It's like chemotherapy. It treats a terminal illness, but the side effects can also be fatal. It's also like morphine. For some people, it is a humane tool that eases unbearable pain, and for others, it is a dangerous narcotic. If you sense that you are losing your battle with death, or have not been defeated yet, but are finding that uncontrollable fear is making it harder to struggle on, then the following is your last resort. Chemotherapy of the soul. Morphine for the brain. This book is a challenging one, I agree. Listening to it, which produces a stronger effect, or even reading it, which produces a weaker one, is not recommended for all people in all circumstances. Perhaps when there is already nothing to lose. Nonetheless, it has been written, and not just for the sake of it. This book was birthed by the times we live in and the events we have seen. April 2nd, 2020, New York, though my soul is in Moscow. Part 1. I will rest. Every morning, I wake up full of anxiety. I open my eyes and try to figure out what I'm worried about. Mom, her illness. She has 2 serious operations behind her. They cut out part of her large intestine. They cut out part of her liver. The things we've been through. It seems like we can finally relax now. We didn't know how good we had it back then. Mom flatly refuses to have chemotherapy. She's heard so much about the side effects, but her cancer could come back. I try to convince her until I'm blue in the face. I use statistics. The kind of cancer Mom has comes back 70% of the time. Mom resists every step of her treatment. It's a struggle. It's exhausting, especially the fact that I can only push her gently. When under implacable pressure from me, she finally agreed to the chemotherapy and the doctors began preparing, her blood pressure shot up to 240/150 and we went to the intensive care unit in an ambulance. We were there all night. Her blood pressure wouldn't go down. I had to take a step back, a pause. Apparently, she wasn't just being cranky. Her phobia is clearly much more serious than it looked on the surface. But time is flying and cancer won't wait until we're ready to beat it. If I just leave Mom alone, the chance that her disease will come back is 70%. But if I keep pushing Mom, no matter how gently, if I force her to go to chemotherapy, there's an even greater chance that she will have a stroke due to high blood pressure brought on by fear. What a dilemma I'm facing. How can I get off my sleep medication now? Taking sleep medication for a long time can lead to early dementia. You may be easing your worries now, but in the long run, you will lose what is most important, your brain. Another dilemma. Get sick right now by burning out my nerves with nightly insomnia, or calm myself down now and get dementia in the future. Quit your panicking. Everything will be all right. You can't keep trying to calculate everything in advance. Now, here's the coronavirus. On top of Mom's cancer. After what I'd seen in those oncology wards during my mom's treatments, I started running from doctor to doctor, getting tested like crazy for every kind of cancer, and forcing the people I loved to do the same. It's important to catch it in the early stages. Now it turns out I have a genetic predisposition. After one of my ultrasounds, they told me that my endometrium was enlarged. The normal thickness is 4 millimeters, and mine was at 15. I need a biopsy at once and perhaps even an operation. Doctors often get it wrong. I'll get another ultrasound. I can't just believe them and rush off to go under the knife. Because of the coronavirus, I've completely let up on Mom and the chemotherapy, and now I can't get my second ultrasound or my biopsy either. Every way forward has slammed shut. Everything's closed. New York City is under quarantine. The whole world is. It's impossible to do anything at a time like this. Will a cancer cell take advantage of this moment? A cancer cell in my mother's body? In mine? Coronavirus. Now it turns out that anyone could die? It isn't just my mom on the executioner's block. It's every one of us. There's not a single hospital, even the very best, that can help you now. Now there's no beating it back, throwing all your strength into the struggle and fighting to the death like we just did with my mom. This is a massive disaster. You're even more likely to die in the hospital than at home. There aren't enough masks and they don't even help. There's a huge shortage of ventilators. What's going on? I'm in some surrealist dream. As I walk the streets of New York, I feel exactly like a sheep being led to slaughter. I've never had such a vast sense of my own helplessness. Is this all a dream? The Baku restaurant is closed? That place is the definition of a strong, unbeatable business. Think of their weekly expenses. How many people can't come to work and have been left with no income? And Yasu is closed too? Those super successful people, those workhorses who kept their family business going for more than 30 years, just shut down the second an order came down from on high? Oh boy, and the next one is closed too? Signature too? And the Opera Cafe? And Liman? And the Applebee's? What's going on? The windows of Signature are all smashed up. It seems looters have already broken in. They work fast. Poor Vadik. He spent his whole life trying to get his restaurant. I remember him as a young man. He's been working since he was 17. First as an assistant waiter, then as a waiter, then as a senior restaurant manager. At the age of 35, he finally managed to find a sponsor and open his first restaurant. He spent a few more years nurturing and developing it. He paid off all his debts with nothing but hard, honest work. And just when he could finally take a deep breath, Vadik was left unemployed at 40, with his windows broken and his business closed until further notice. I open my email. Subject: How can we handle fear, panic, and anxiety during the quarantine? From Tatiana Batyozina. Practical recommendations. Most of us are experiencing anxiety right now. All of our fears and anxieties are becoming more intense. Anxieties about the future, about life itself, about our families, about not having enough money, and about how we just don't know what to do right now. Everything is going to be okay. Smiley face. But the overwhelming likelihood is that this quarantine will go on for a long time, and that will create fertile soil for panic attacks. There's no point telling ourselves that only clueless people are subject to panic attacks. It is precisely active, energetic people with higher education who are likely to be affected by the current situation. I have made a few videos for all of you that lay out some useful practices for avoiding the panic attacks that some people may experience during this difficult period. Here's another email. Hello, my dear friend. This is regarding an event that has made orthodox medicine less orthodox. That event was as follows. In the 1970s, the Simontons, a married couple who were also oncologists, demonstrated that the survival rate among cancer patients is directly related to the way they view their illness. More specifically, to how much they fear it. Needless to say, all cancer patients experience fear. But not all fear is created equal. Fear can be constant during a given period, which drives people into a state of hopelessness. There's also the kind of fear that overwhelms you at first, but then lets you go so that you can still think straight and undergo your treatment calmly, without panicking. This is no joke. There's no laughing this off. I'm afraid to check the market and see how far my stocks have fallen. What's the point? They're not letting anybody into the buildings anymore. That means apartments will be vacant. When people lose their income, they will stop paying their rent. As a result, whole buildings will fall into full or partial disrepair. How have they managed to castrate the whole world at once? There is nowhere to run. Europe, China, Iran, Russia, America, the disease is everywhere. And every path is closed, so deftly and so absolutely. My son, Leo. Is it him I'm worried about? What's he up to while I'm lying here spiraling? Is he heading towards some unexpected disaster? Andrew, who's sitting there quietly, not complaining, and I don't know anything about him. Ever since he went to live with his father because our grandmother was sick, I lost my last thread of contact with him. But I just don't have time. I'm spending all my time wrestling with what's most important. Vitally important. I've tried to talk to Leo, Andrew, Alex, Mom. I was just pouring out the last of my strength in vain. They make fun of me, actively resist. At best, they just smile, agree, and then don't change their behavior at all. Quarantine in the city. Leo isn't washing his hands. Yesterday, I had to make a lot of trips. I stocked up on groceries in case the supply chain collapses. The lines were unbelievable. What if I got the virus? Why am I doing all this shopping by myself? The gynecologist. Yes, they said I have a thick endometrium. Are they lying again? Or just wrong? Or is there real danger this time? Will this one stupid little problem lead to cancer? I just had a dental implant removed. It was put in unsuccessfully by one of the best dentists in New York just the other day. If I'd put it off one more week, what would I have done now? The inflammation had already spread to my neck. But I still have a molar with a temporary filling. It's going to start hurting soon. Then what? I can't think about my tooth now. They changed the laws in New York back in summer. Now you can't charge a deposit larger than 1 month's rent. You can't accept payment in advance either. I have a foreigner living in my apartment in Manhattan. She came from Brazil for treatment. She has cancer. You can't evict a person like that. And there's no way to get anything out of her in court. She'll just leave and good luck finding her in Brazil. Or worse still, she might die. And I hate the thought of evicting her now because of the new laws. I have to write to my lawyer. It's not just her. Even if I did evict her, 90% of the rental market will dry up if they have to operate under laws like this. What am I supposed to do now? Is this it? The end of my financial freedom? Really? The financial freedom I have built, first by near miraculous luck, then by blood, sweat, and tears, is over? It's dangerous getting too close to lawyers. Their advice might cost what a tenant pays you in a year. And good luck if you get in a dispute with a lawyer. But what can I do? Plus, lawyers don't always take responsibility for their words and advice. The coronavirus has cut me off from Moscow. And what will happen to my business there? What will happen to the business of my life itself? Right now, it's a dead end. Darn it all. I'm just lying here wallowing in questions with no answers. It's so uncomfortable. I need to open my eyes all the way, really wake up. I just need to get out of bed. I'll shake off this anxiety and feel better. Struggling and throwing yourself into it is easier than just lying there and remembering that while you're sleeping, something's about to happen there. Something's going on. That you're missing something important. When I get up, I will wiggle and dance all day long in a struggle. Then I will lay down in front of the television, utterly spent. I'll be thinking about how I have to talk to Leo and Andrew and Mom, but I just won't have the strength, not even to keep my eyes open. I'll be lying there thinking about what I should be doing, but I just don't have the strength. As I throw myself into my work like a woman possessed, a glimpse of a thought begins to flicker to life in my mind. I'm like someone toiling away like crazy all year, but knowing that at the end of the summer he'll go on vacation somewhere warm and lie around under the palm trees with exotic drinks. I never take a break. I'm always solving some problem, smoothing over some conflict, overcoming danger, overcoming resistance from the people around me. But all the while, there's a warm thought in the back of my mind. When all of this is over, there will come a moment when I can finally, really lie down and relax. Not the way I lie down in my bed every night with my head stuffed full of thoughts, but lie down completely. A moment when I will let all my anxieties go, like letting a huge bundle of balloons drift into the air, into the sky, without worrying that something will slip away and I won't be able to catch it again. A warm thought. Instead, there's this cold horror in the pit of my stomach, this despairing cry of protest. When Mom and I were going to the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in Manhattan, 2 hours there and 2 hours back, the fear of death that had crept up so close to me had such a tight grip on me in that claustrophobic car, and it was so uncomfortable and unacceptable, so close to driving me out of my mind with its mere proximity, that my innermost being started reacting on its own during those long drives and those visits to that center full of unimaginable human suffering. I began brewing an antidote to death in my head, in my heart, in myself. An antidote to death involuntarily, simply because I couldn't stand it. I remember the day we went in for Mom's surgeries. The second we stepped into the lobby, we saw a man sitting in a wheelchair, all cut to pieces and wrapped in bandages. Someone struggling with death. That sight posed an involuntary question. Is it worth the price? But everyone wants to live. On the inside, I was shaking like a leaf, wondering if my mom would survive. And I wasn't the only one. The other patient in her room was a pretty, middle-aged Filipino woman named Liza. She had dark hair and a strikingly pure, childlike face without a single wrinkle. Looking at that surprisingly youthful woman, you would never think that she had only a few days left to live. This was it. The struggle was over. 7 years. 3 terribly difficult surgeries. Everything that could be cut out had been cut out. Most of her stomach, most of her intestines, almost all of her liver, her spleen. How is she still alive? She can only eat through a feeding tube. So many courses of chemotherapy, the maximum permissible number of radiation treatments, several times over. Give up already. Just think of how much strength it takes to open the door to death and stop resisting. I only made sense of all that afterwards, when I visited Liza after I had arranged for my mom to be transferred to a private room. I had to pay extra. An hour after we arrived, a priest in a white robe came to visit a terminally ill patient. To comfort the soul of a dying woman, he was extremely ineffective. I listened to their entire conversation from behind a curtain. I kicked Mom out of the room to take a stroll so she wouldn't hear, but then she ran into some of the other patients walking in the corridors. Seeing people who are half or 2/3 of the way into the next world is not an easy experience, especially when you have 2 operations at once ahead of you. There it is. Death. It's already standing on the threshold. The adrenaline. It was painful to see what happened to Liza's son. He never left his mother's side. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. You'll run yourself into the ground if you keep this up, I told him when he came out into the hallway. There isn't much time left. Every day with her is precious. I'll sleep later. If he only knew what would happen to him in just a month. How he would sleep later. The one thing we had when Mom was in Memorial Sloan Kettering was the tremendous support of our close relatives. It was so kind the way they just dropped everything to come help us. We were a little battalion, fighting together, confident that no single death could ever overwhelm us. Nobody knew what was coming so soon, and they still don't. On top of all that came a call from Moscow. Lydia and Victor wished me a happy International Women's Day. I was so happy to hear that Victor was alive. Victor got better. Last spring, they found a tumor in his pancreas, purely by accident. Then I came to New York and got stuck here because of Mom's health. I simply didn't have the time to call him, but there he was, alive, calling me. Happy International Women's Day indeed. But Lydia had more to say. Yes, Victor got better, but my son is dead. Your son? Yes. What do you mean he's dead? Just that. He's dead. But he wasn't even sick. He caught a cold. Complications set in. On November 4th, we celebrated his 40th birthday. He was perfectly healthy. A week later, he caught a cold. He ran a fever for 3 days, then he was short of breath. They took him to the hospital, and then 2 days after that, he was dead. On November 4th, a young, perfectly healthy man celebrated his 40th birthday. Then on the 16th, he was no longer among the living? I can't talk. I can't see. I can't think. I just don't understand. Who did it? Why? What control panel are they sitting at as they toy with us mere insects? Forgive me, Lord. Calm down, I say to myself. You know very well that you aren't going anywhere until you accomplish your mission. Everything is decided up there. There's no reason to make a fuss. Then, once you have accomplished your mission, death won't matter anyway. It's useless being stubborn. You have to go anyway, sooner or later. Yes, the work is happening within me. Why fear death? Why try to avoid it? It hounds you every step of the way. Run one way, it's already lying in wait there. Run the other way, it just laughs and sprints past you, then waits again, its maw gaping. It's playing with you like a gorged cat with a mouse. Here you are worrying about your illness, I told my mom. But we could get into a car accident right now on the way to the hospital or on the way home. That'd be it for both of us. Have you heard the statistics about car crashes? I'm trying to comfort Mom, but on the inside, I'm terrified at how vulnerable we are. How exposed and defenseless we are in the face of death. We literally don't know what's around the corner. I couldn't even imagine that the frantic combat against Mom's cancer, those traumatic trips to the oncology center when the fire of fears and emotions was burning so hot I thought it was already off the scale, was just a walk in the park compared to what was coming. Coronavirus. The survival of all humanity is on the edge. The edge between life and death. And what else is coming? We can't even imagine what awaits us. Nobody knows. And even I, a strong person who never gives up, find myself running out of gunpowder. I can't fight anymore. I don't have the strength. It's an excellent life lesson, how to knock anyone down. Even someone exceptionally strong. Hit her with blow after blow, one after another, never letting her catch her breath, never letting her collect herself. No matter how strong she is, down she goes. Here I am, surrendering. I'm accepting it, making peace with it. I can see that this isn't a fair fight. I don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. I am alone against millions of forms of cancer, against unpredictable complications from the flu, against sudden car crashes, against natural disasters, epidemics, against the coronavirus. As a sober-minded person, I understand that the struggle is hopeless. There are too many threats from every direction. Here I am, left with my only last resort, just like Viktor Frankl. I have to change my attitude towards death. I have to accept everything that God sends to me and to all the people that I love. As I write this, sitting in my armchair in my apartment, I can see Mom through the glass door of the balcony. She's out there in the sun, neatening something up. Lucky, a 5-month-old puppy I bought Mom for emotional support, has finally gotten used to the balcony. She was afraid to go out there for so long. But there she is, frolicking at Mom's feet. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. A moment of such acute happiness. We're all alive. I do not lament, call out, or cry. All will pass like apple blossom smoke. To stop going out of my mind with fear of death, I have to change my attitude toward it. I have to make friends with death. To do that, I must find the positive aspects of death. After all, that is the foundation of everything I teach people. There is a positive side to any negative situation. There is an advantage to financial ruin, liberation from the bounds of all those responsibilities. There is an advantage to age and infirmity, wisdom and experience. There is joy in a cold winter, a hot bath and a cup of tea. There is a positive side to unbearable heat, a cold drink and an air conditioner. Nothing exists in the material world without its opposite. You can find the plus side to anything, even death. And I found it. We kept having to go to Memorial Sloan Kettering for a long time after the operation. Those grueling trips to Manhattan took a lot out of Mom. I was trying to teach her to see the sun shining in our claustrophobic car on those gloomy February days. And in the process, I learned to see things that way myself. Together, we learned how to turn a laborious trip into pure enjoyment. In our car, in gloomy February, warm, affectionate sun was quite literally shining down on us. You can convince yourself to see it. I went to YouTube and turned on birds singing and the sounds of nature. I closed my eyes, got comfortable, and turned on the sun inside me. Mom was sitting next to me. At my command, she too turned on the sun inside herself. Even with my eyes closed, I felt the presence of my mother right there next to me, and she felt that I was close by and loved her. I let that happiness wash over me. The danger of imminent separation that hung over us made those minutes and hours unforgettable. The whole trip was endless joy and rest. It wasn't a waste of time, not just burning our energy, not pointless discomfort. Just by changing my perception, looking at the same thing from a different angle. On TV, they keep showing the long refrigerated trucks parked at all the hospitals in anticipation of a sudden epidemic of deaths. They keep showing bodies being loaded into them. Trump gave a speech about how much it hurt to see people in black bags. There's a shortage of those too. And white sheets being loaded up like that. They're people, not cordwood. At any moment, any person, even if he's healthy, young, and full of vitality, can just start feeling bad. Then the fever starts, then he starts getting short of breath. They take him away to the hospital. When he arrives, there aren't enough medical workers, not enough beds, no disinfectants, to say nothing of ventilators. In America, the richest country in the world. Then he becomes a statistic, part of the body count. They load him into a refrigerated truck full of another 300 corpses. They can't bury him. It's all very quiet. And it can happen to anyone, anytime. The phone rings. Our Uncle Vadim died. From the coronavirus. Yes, they knew that going to the hospital now was likely a death sentence, but they had to take him when he started having trouble breathing. No, he didn't have any other illnesses. He was a lively, energetic person. On May 4th, he would have turned 82, and he could have kept living and living. None of his relatives could say goodbye. They wouldn't even let them take his body. They wouldn't let them have a funeral. It was too dangerous. There it is, the first death. And this is barely the beginning. What's going on? How am I supposed to keep from losing my mind? I can't take this many sleeping pills. I'll wind up an idiot, even if I don't die of the coronavirus. You're not allowed to go for a walk. But I still go outside. People are still out walking in the streets. Is everyone who isn't doing what they're told a potential fatality? How can you get infected in the open air if you don't go near anyone? But they keep warning people, stay home. The clear blue sky that I love so much the light that I can't do without. The trees are blossoming. Oh, I see now. All the beauty to be found in earthly life is just bait. Bait to keep unfortunate human beings firmly on the hook in this world where they face a vast smorgasbord of illnesses, dangers, suffering, anxiety, and trials of every scale and variety. Who would drink this whole cup if it hadn't been sweetened first? I burned my finger while I was making porridge. It hurts. We don't notice these little things. We want to live at any price. A swan swims across the mirrored water against the backdrop of an imperishable blue sky. Piercing beauty. No, this life is not a joke, not a veil of tears. That is the conclusion my spiritual teacher reached. And as I look at all this, for some reason I find myself remembering going on the internet and reading about how to arrange the subtlest and most seductive traps for the water bugs that the Almighty recently gave permission to visit my bedroom every night, so now I have no peace there either. The lengths I go to trying to get those bugs into my traps. Are the white swans and blue skies bait in a trap? The vast ocean that I love so much? To keep us firmly in place here, with the flu 3 times a year, fevers and headaches, broken bones where every day the body is subject to some itch or burn or you slip and fall, dislocate or fracture something, where every few years there are wars and privations, epidemics, devastation, the loss of loved ones, and fear. To stop going out of my mind with fear of death, I have to change my attitude toward it. I have to make friends with death. To do that, I have to find the positive side of it. After all, that is the most essential truth. There is a positive side to any negative situation. You can find an advantage in any problem, even in death. And I found it.